Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
Now I'm going to introduce you to the actual Master of Ceremonies and host for this afternoon. You know him as the voice of Michigan Golf via the Michigan Golf Live multimedia platform, but mostly the TV shows that they show whenever the Tigers are rained out. He's that's how I know him. So he's the tall guy over there. We watched him play golf on TV a lot, which is really a good gig. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend Bill Hobson.
Delay when I start getting texts on my phone from various friends who are in restaurants where there are TVs, and I will get texts that say, "I am trying to eat, would you leave me alone?" And it'll be some scene of me on a water slide or at a spa with a mud pad, whatever. We do silly things, but we celebrate this great game, and we've been blessed to do so for 26 years as we just wrapped up our 26th season. And when we come to moments like today, I find myself being more and more grateful. And maybe it's because as I get a little older and some of my friends pass, or whatever the case may be, it seems like gratitude is more often the sentiment that I come into these moments with. So I'm thankful for so many things, for the opportunity to be a part of this crazy game for so long. Everybody in this room, to some degree, has a passion for golf, or at the very least, a passion for somebody who golfs. And it makes no sense. I mean, really, from a standpoint of logic, golf doesn't make a lot of sense. But none of us who are in the industry or connected to the game could imagine our lives without it, which is why we still on occasion find ourselves yelling at an inanimate object to do something that it can't hear us, so it can't possibly obey. And when it goes into the water, you'll see the group, it's always the group ahead of you, where the one guy still carries a ball retriever, and you're in for a good 11-minute delay while he tries to find every ball that's been in there for 4 years. I find myself grateful for the friendships and partnerships that so many of us have enjoyed over the years. Even downstairs before we began today, just having catch-up conversations. It seems like these things happen a couple of times every calendar year. They'll often happen, in Novi at the show, or there's no longer a Grand Rapids Golf Show, but we would always get together there, and even though it was February or March, you would hear somebody say, "Happy New Year," because for the golf world, that's the Happy New Year time. So thankful for that. Thankful for safety in tens of thousands of miles of travel, not just for me, but for all of you who are really in the industry and you're on the road constantly. I'm thankful that whoever volunteered to start my car for the 3 weeks after my live golf incident, that nothing happened. And we all made it. And some of you know what that means, and some of you are like, what is he talking about? It's okay, we won't go there now. But what an adventurous time I had earlier this season when the fine folks from that wonderful establishment decided they didn't care for me anymore. Can you imagine not liking me? That was not enough laughter. I have long said that you could fill a stadium with people who don't like me, but when you look at like Karen, you look at Loretta, and a few of you, you couldn't fill a phone booth with people who don't care for them. So that's okay, we'll keep it that way. Because I'm so thankful for all of the personalities that weave their ways in through this awesome game. And today, we have a chance to express gratitude. That's really what is part of this activity, part of this gathering. I was talking with Karen a few minutes ago, and it was a couple of years ago, we were shooting a show that was featuring what our viewers voted to be the 18 toughest holes in the state of Michigan. We just go by their votes, and then we foolishly decide to drive to all 18 of them and play one hole. It's a fun idea until you have to do it, right? But one of those stops was at Washtenaw, and Dave was my co-host for that particular hole. And you would have thought that he was preparing me for my first ever round in the Masters. He was so serious and so invested in the hole that we played. And I did remind him, Dave, we edit heavily. I mean, we can make this look good. And he's like, well, no, we're going to do it the right way. You're playing this from tee to green, and I'm going to read it for you. And he was my teacher. And there's an iconic photo that Karen mentioned a few moments ago. Against all history of our TV show, I made a putt on camera. That does not happen. Ask my crew. And Dave celebrated, I mean, both arms in the air, bent back like this with the biggest smile on his face, because he's one of those people for whom I am grateful, because he always wanted success for other people. That's actually a rarity in our culture today. Cheering on the success of others, right? We live in a culture that kind of demonizes others who succeed, and we have to poke holes in them. We have to find ways that they went around the back door and they didn't do it the good old-fashioned. Dave loved it when people did well, especially in this game. And so that's probably the highlight on my gratitude thought list for today, is that sort of a celebration that we are going to continue here for the next few moments. We should have you out of here by 7 or 8 p.m. Actually, I don't remember the year. I won't name the inductee, but this gathering took place in Lansing, and I was the MC. And back then it was speeches, just speeches. You introduce them, step back, here you go. And the guidance was keep it under 6 minutes. And that particular evening, all of the other inductees really did that. They honor that. And then one person. I'm sitting at the dais over here. His family was sitting like right here. 43 minutes into his speech, his own family's going, and henceforth, forevermore, we have a talk show format so that we can kind of keep things a little more concise. I've got one more addition to the gratitude list, and it is our first honoree today. Because in many respects, this Hall of Fame, even though it's not a massive operation, it's an important operation when it comes to the game in our state. And this facility and the Hall of Fame here and all the work through the fundraising and the construction and all of the different things, they've got to have a point person who can really pour into all of this. And today, there was a pretty cool surprise announcement that took place a couple months ago. Because we couldn't really surprise her here. She wouldn't have been able to invite family. It would have been kind of awkward. And so we'll get into the story here, but I would ask that you join me in welcoming the first recipient of a very special award as we welcome to the platform Miss Loretta Larkin. We'll help you up. Come on up. See, while you were walking up, the back of the room gave you a standing ovation, so that's pretty. Hey, do that again, would you? She didn't see that. Okay, so this Hall of Fame endeavor, it doesn't pay very well, right? It's not globally famous. It's not, I don't think we're being televised live anywhere. What is it about this that has caught your heart to the point where you've poured so much into it?
Sorry. I have to say, Bob McMasters, whose painting is up here, sorry, I'm going to start crying, but he was so influential in the Hall of Fame, and, you know, he took it over, more or less, because everything was just in storage at Indianwood, and, you know, we formed a committee. I was working for the GAM at the time, and the GAM took it over, and it was kind of part of my responsibility. And when Bob puts his mind to something, he sees it through, and it gets done. And so took years, but you know, it went from in storage at Indianwood, we had a temporary home in Troy, back in storage at Bob's office, his business, and then lo and behold, we found a home at Ferris. And Bob passed away in February of 2021, but he made it up for the induction of 2020. So he was able to see the home, which was, you know, it was just great to know that he was able to see it. So Bob really, he kind of inspires me, but I also, what I always tell people is, for the induction, I love all the people that I get to meet, families, and I really enjoy that.
Okay, so you've seen this whole endeavor from its infancy to where we are in this calendar year. How far has this Hall of Fame come? What have you observed, and what is it that you love the most about this concept?
Just that we get to honor people, whether it's players, people that contribute in other ways to golf, and it's just, there's so many wonderful people in the golf world that I have met, and I can see them at a golf show, and they kind of look at me like, wait, I know you, you know, and so it's just great, all the people that I've met. And then all of you may not know, but I also work for the GAM, which I did work for the GAM back in the 90s, and then I'm back at the GAM for 6 years now, fortunate to work for Chris Whitten, and which I love that job too.
Yeah. There's a story behind you finding out about this special award, right? So just so you all know, the Hall of Fame committee gathers like once a year, and they do it in person, or if you can't be there in person, you're on Zoom. This meeting took place, I believe, in East Lansing. Maybe it was at the PGA offices a month or so, a couple months ago. And Greg, I think, decided that that would be the time, after we had all secretly voted unanimously to honor Loretta, secretly, we couldn't spring it on her here because it wouldn't be fair to the opportunity to bring family along. So can you take us through what that moment was like in the meeting, when near the end of that meeting at the PGA offices, Greg had a special announcement?
Well, they took a vote, and they were voting. I can't remember what the motion was, but my name wasn't mentioned, and they took a vote, and I'm sitting there like, what are they voting on? You know, and then the vote was taken, tally, passed unanimously, and then they announced it. So, yeah.
A few tears in that room.
A few tears.
So what was going through your mind when the tears are flowing?
Just how humbled I was, because I didn't expect an award. I was just very humbled, I was very grateful for them to think of me, and it was actually Terry Moore and Sarah Wold that initiated the nomination.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, my last question for you. Are there any folks that are here with us today that you'd kind of like to single out as being part of fueling your passion and leading to where we are right now?
There's a lot of people in the room. Everyone from, like I said, Chris, Ken Hartman is here from the GAM. Greg Johnson, who I always say I have the two best bosses, Chris Whitten and Greg Johnson, and I truly mean that. And just everyone else here that I've met over the years that I get to see at these. Grateful to have Karen Kendall when she called me a few weeks ago and mentioned that she might be coming. And I was like, yes, Karen, of course. You know, we'd love to have you there. And then, sorry, I have to, of course, acknowledge when Terry Moore sent me the write-up for the program, and I was reading through it, you know, and like, okay, yeah, that's all factual, yeah, yes. And then I got to the second to the last paragraph, and I told Terry, I said, okay, you got me on that second to the last paragraph when he said she's blessed with two adult daughters, I believe is how he put it. I don't know. But anyways, because in both of my daughters, Amy and Leanne are here, and then my new son-in-law, as of 4 months tomorrow, is also here, Drew. So I'm just grateful to have them here and to be able to share this day with everybody.
Well, there is a special sentiment for those who serve behind the scenes in whatever endeavor you're connected to. And there is a special degree of appreciation for what you do for the game of golf, for the Hall of Fame, for the Golf Association of Michigan. So Loretta, on behalf of all of the aforementioned, I'm proud to present you with this special award, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Oh. Sarah, you've never brought me flowers in my life. In the world.
Oh, wait till next year.
Okay. As we continue in our program, it's very exciting to add new members to the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame, and we'll get into some of the background of the biography and the story that leads to moments like this. I don't think it's by accident that our first honoree comes to us from the University of Michigan. He's probably still celebrating a special day after last night's little competition. Oh, was there a game? I was thinking of something completely unrelated to that. Please welcome to the platform, Michael Harris. How are you? Good. Come on in. Native of Royal Oak, resides in Brookfield, Wisconsin, and has a pedigree of this game that I'm jealous of. Who got you started playing golf?
My dad introduced me to the game. We were members at Detroit Golf Club. Since I was born. Like that's just what I remember. I started when I was 4 or 5, and hot dogs, and kind of one hole at a time, and so that's kind of how I was introduced to the game.
What was the pathway that led you to Ann Arbor?
Just kind of gradually getting better over time. I think at one point, my older brother tried out for the soccer team in high school and didn't make it. And then he turned to my dad and wanted him to teach him to play golf. And then that was kind of the switch. I played 36 holes of golf from when I was in 7th grade on. Like, that was my summer. I spent, I'd wake up, tee off at 7:30, go to the swimming pool in between, have lunch, and then play another 18 holes. So that was just kind of my path. I had a lot of great instruction. We had John Traub was the head pro there, Michigan Golf Hall of Famer. Steve Brady was an assistant when I was there. Like, I was just really blessed to be around people that knew the game and could really help me and kind of guide me and got me on the right path. And kind of that was the stepping stone to Michigan.
Yeah, and for all of you who have the programs here, I know that it's fairly rare that you would read the entire narrative, but there's a pretty cool narrative to the resume for this guy. So let me hit a couple highlights. At the University of Michigan, he earned All-American honors twice, 3-time All-Big Ten selection, 8 individual tournament titles, medalist at the 1999 Big Ten Conference Championships, won the Michigan PGA Tournament of Champions 5 times in the 2005 Michigan Open Championship. You can play this game. And by the way, the resume continues into the professional ranks. So do you have a couple of career highlights that you kind of look back when you're kind of reminiscing a bit and think, man, I was pretty good at this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I qualified for 2 U.S. Opens, so like just being parts of those events were really special. But like if I think back, like they're just like golf shots where you like almost like surprise yourself, or like it was like the perfect swing, or like I remember finishing up my first tournament of champions and hitting like the best 6-iron of my life, and hitting it, it was a close, down the finish, and just hit a laser at the flag, and I can still feel what that felt like. And so and then even the week when I won the Michigan Open at I just just everything was clicking, and just kind of like it was like the game was easy, which I know it's not. I've had those weeks too, but just a lot of great memories of great golf along the way.
Great players can recall important great shots as if they happened this morning. Lousy players can recall horrendously shanked shots as if they happened this morning and are going to happen again this afternoon.
Yeah.
How did you get past that idea of focusing on the shots that you want to remember and getting past the ones that you don't?
Well, I had a lot of help. I had Jack Wilson. Jack and I worked on the mental side of the game, really from the day one when I turned professionally. So he was with me. My wife Jennifer caddied for me for a number of years. You just kind of, you have good people in your corner that help you shake off the bad and remember the good, and always kind of remember that the next step, not the last step. And surrounding yourself with really good people has really helped me.
Were there any on the range moments at a U.S. Open where you looked around and just thought, oh my, that guy's over, this guy, you know, you're surrounded by some fairly accomplished players. Did you have any of those little snapshot moments?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my first professional event was the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach when Tiger won by
a million.
a million. Or, you know, I was one of the other 155. I always tell him, and you know, unfortunately, I had like the way they did it back then was everybody teed off the first tee, and they didn't have a split tee start, and I had a really late tee time, and the fog rolled in. And so I played 2 holes that first day.
After waiting all day.
Yeah, after waiting all day. And so, you know, so everybody, you know, the fog comes in, everybody, you know, Hobson in a van back, you know, going back. And I forget if it was like, you know, on the way back to warm up to go back out. But I hopped in a van. I was just like, you know, I needed to find a spot to, to get a ride to the range. And I hop in the van, and in the van with me is Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson. I'm like, I'll just get in the back. And so, like, you know, that was like kind of my welcome to golf moment.
That's not bad. I mean, that's a pretty good way to go. You've also had the privilege of playing some pretty special venues around the world.
Yeah.
Give us your favorite 3.
Favorite 3? Well, Pebble. I mean, that was, you know, to start. I mean, that was, you know, just beautiful venue, brutally hard golf course when they set it up for the U.S. Open. Wingfoot, I played there for the U.S. Open when Phil doinked it off the tent at the end to make double and lose. You know, but just, you know, like, I don't know, I played Oak Hill in a USAM, Pumpkin Ridge in the USAM. So just, you know, just a lot of great venues.
Is your hunger for the game still as strong right now as it was 20 years ago?
No, I would say no. It's kind of shifted. My enjoyment with the game is, you know, with my sons, Andrew and William, will, you know, go out and play 9 holes and just kind of, you know, have fun. And it's more of an enjoyment. It's not, you know, I miss the competition, and, you know, that was great. And, you know, maybe someday, you know, when senior amateur golf rolls back around, I'll you know, get back into it. But right now it's just like enjoyment, family time, and how do I you know, kind of pass the game along to them.
There is a member of your entourage here in the front row who's been videoing every minute of this whole thing. I can't wait until that cold December evening when you guys sit down to watch home movies and it's this. Yeah. You know, it's my opening and then it's this. But obviously you have people here who care about you.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about the support system as part of a journey like this? You mentioned that your wife caddied for you. There's got to be a book full of stories about those encounters. But give you a chance to kind of shout out those who have meant so much to you. Yeah,
it's been a lot. You know, I mentioned Jack Wilson, sports psychologist. You know, really helped me out. Kevin Hinton's here. He was my swing instructor, good buddy in college. So he worked with me for the last 6 or 7 years. Mike Athelt's here. You know, he was my roommate for 5 years at Michigan, and kind of, you know, a really formative time in my life. And then, you know, Jennifer, my wife. I mean, she was there from the beginning. You know, we met when I was a freshman in college. Like, she has seen it all. You know, at one point she quit her job and, you know, saw that I was, you know, kind of struggling a little bit, you know, just kind of being away, being on my own. And so she traveled with me for, about 2 years, caddying. You know, I mean, we're in St. John's, Newfoundland, and it's blowing 40 miles an hour sideways, and like all the other guys have like decided to take the day off, and I don't know, I decided to play a practice. She's out there, like she's, you know, and just, you know, you read off the highlights, and there's, you know, 8 wins and, you know, all these, but she was there on those days when things didn't go right, and she's always been there.
Yeah, that's so cool
for golf and for life, and, you know, so
yeah.
It's been a lot.
What came closer to happening during intense moments on the golf course? The player was considering firing the caddy, Or the caddy was considering firing the player.
The caddy firing.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Especially on that Newfoundland round.
We were, she met with Jack with me. Like, there was a lot of, heart-to-hearts on, So, yeah, I mean, I've grown up a lot, and she's a big reason for that.
What does this day mean to you?
This wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't on anything, and to be recognized for, just for all that I did do in the game. You kind of think back and think, gosh, I don't know. I never really thought of myself as a Hall of Famer, but to be remembered for a long time to come. I mean, it feels good.
Yeah.
Really grateful. I think it is very personal. My name goes on the plaque, but I know Jennifer's name deserves to be right there, and all the people that helped me along the way.
Well, congratulations. And on behalf of the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame, it's an honor to welcome you in. Michael Harris, everybody. Thanks. Yeah, good stuff. I feel like we should have gotten Jennifer a plaque as well, just for the.
We can do that.
Yeah, we can add that in. Our next honoree has had a fairly hectic schedule for the last several months of his life, as he has served in some very lofty roles and been right in the mix of everything happening in the world of golf. We'll get into some of that and probably wish we had more time, but please welcome to the platform John Lindert. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to guess, John, that out of all of the sit-down interviews you've done in the last several months, this is probably the least nerve-wracking one of all of them. How's the life of the guy who just finished his term as PGA of America president?
More relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit more quiet, chill. Not as many late-night phone calls. Not as many hot topic discussions.
Yeah.
Traveling both sides of the country, meeting with golf ball manufacturers, meeting with the USGA, talking about golf ball rollback, talking about all things golf.
Yeah.
It's a little less hectic.
Do you know how long I have dreamed of hearing somebody watch me hit a ball and say, "See, the ball goes too far"? It does.
A long time.
Yeah, I need to be playing on an airport.
I've seen you hit a golf ball.
Yeah, it doesn't go very far. What have the last couple of years of your life been like? Serving in this role while also maintaining your place in Lansing at the Country Club of Lansing.
I think I describe it as it's been a pinch me, not moment, but it's been a pinch me 2 years, 4 years, 6 years. The time spent as an officer in the PGA of America, the trips you go on, the people you get to meet, the friendships you develop. Every day seems like, I can't believe this is happening, and I can't believe this is happening. And yet again, the next day you wake up and something else happens that's tremendous and inspiring, and it's memorable.
Yeah. Let's go back for a moment to the home game story, Country Club of Lansing. When you first entered into that role, you probably thought life would be somewhat normal as a club pro.
Correct.
Right? And then you start to serve in the PGA, and there's a progression that goes on there. What is it about CCL, though, that you have loved so much for all these years?
Well, I mean, obviously, I've had tremendous support from the membership when you start to embark on some of this. And by the way, none of this was planned out. Like Mike was talking about, it happens one day at a time. One day you're running for a position on the Michigan PGA board as an officer, and the next day you're on the national board of the PGA of America, and then the next day you're a national officer, which is kind of mind-boggling in and of itself. But none of that happens without the support of the membership from the Country Club of Lansing and support from my wife and my family, because it is a lot. There's a lot of hours, and obviously there's travel. but there's hours on the phone, there's hours answering phone calls, there's emails, and it's endless, and it really is. There's a lot of interviews that you do, there's a lot of TV appearances that you make, but yeah, it's been a very hectic, but a very blessed 6 years with the PGA of America as an officer.
When you're in it, you're at the Ryder Cup, you're at the Masters, you're in these press conferences. Do you ever have a chance to just stop for a moment, look around, and say, "I can't believe this is what I get to do," or "I can't believe this is what I have to do"? But one way or the other, do you ever get to step back?
Yeah, every moment. I'll reflect back on one of the really, really cool moments that I did exactly that. I sat back in the chair and I said, "What am I doing in this room?"
Yeah.
When I was president of the PGA, we had the Ryder Cup in Rome, and I decided to have a very first meeting of all the past Ryder Cup captains. So I'm sitting in this room with 10 past Ryder Cup captains, and Ray Floyd and Tom Watson. I mean, I sit there and I sat back and I'm looking around the room. I'm going, who doesn't fit in this room? I mean, there's
What's wrong with this picture?
What's wrong with this picture, and why are they talking to me?
Right.
When I look back at that, and I look back at that experience and that conversation, and then afterwards, the captains coming up to me and saying, "Thank you. Thank you for organizing this, because it's the first time that's ever happened."
Really?
And it was to kind of get their voice on what they thought everything Ryder Cup. You know, what were we doing right? What were we doing wrong? What could we improve on? How do we include them more into the Ryder Cup experience? How do we make use of their knowledge going forward? And they were all very appreciative of it. And it was a wonderful 2.5 hour conversation.
I think one of the post-Ryder Cup comments that I heard from Beth Page, one of the American players, when asked what Keegan could have done differently, said he could have told us to go ahead and make putts. Because that's kind of what it seemed like it came down to. As you sit there in the role that you are engaged in, helpless, you can't go out there and play defense, right? You can't do anything else about it. Is the Ryder Cup, is it delivering on its promise to the golf fans? Is this what we're looking for? Is just something to talk about and root for, and the controversies that come and the competitions that come? Is it where you hoped it would be?
Well, I think that, I'll reflect back. I went to the Ryder Cup at Oakland Hills in 2004, and then I went to Hazeltine in 2016. I was actually talking to a young individual in New York and Long Island, and they said, "Should I go to the Ryder Cup? I know there are a lot of fans." And I said, "You should go for the first tee experience, because it's marvelous." And what I was reflecting back on was in 2016, my wife and I traveled to Minneapolis and went to Hazeltine for the Ryder Cup. And I remember walking in Friday morning, really early in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and as the sun started to come up, the crowd started singing "God Bless America." And then there were two bald eagles that appeared out of nowhere. I mean, this was like a movie.
Yeah.
And it gave me chills, and that's what I reflected on. I think that experiencing what I experienced at Bethpage, it's gotten a little bit more commercial.
Yeah.
And I hope and I pray that when we go back to Hazeltine, we get the "God Bless America" and the two bald eagles again.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Do I understand correctly that golf wasn't necessarily your first love from a competitive standpoint?
Well, it wasn't what I was best at.
Which was?
Swimming.
There are not a lot of golfers who would say the same thing about themselves.
That's a pretty easy answer. Swimming.
What flipped the switch for you? Besides not having to wear a Speedo anymore.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and it's very valid.
It's the little things.
Yeah, I swam pre the suits that they have now, which had more body coverage than what I had. Bad images. I think getting away from the 2-a-day practices, the 5 o'clock in the morning practice and the 3 o'clock in the afternoon practice, and getting away from having green hair, because your hair would bleach out with the chlorine, and I think
that's what happened to me.
Yeah, I know. Crazy. Yeah. No, it's really kind of interesting. I went to the University of Arizona, and I got recruited, and when I was a junior in high school, I went and worked out with the swim team at the University of Arizona, and I played golf with the golf team. And I performed pretty well, won states in Wisconsin in an event as a senior in high school, went to the U of A, and they had just recruited 8 Olympians. And I was probably not quite at that caliber, close, but not quite. It just so happened that the assistant swim coach became the golf coach my sophomore year.
Really?
And then I walked on the golf team. And so Coach LaRose was there. I was there for his first year. Actually played with Jeff Roth, who's a Michigan Hall of Famer as well. And walked on the golf team and hung up the goggles and the Speedo and never really looked back.
It's amazing how life
You're welcome, by the way.
how life changes on these key moments, right?
Yeah.
And then you fast forward to some of those images where you're presenting the Wanamaker Trophy, where you're dealing with the important topics in the game today. And all along that journey, there are key people that are a part of that. When you kind of put together your own personal Hall of Fame of those who have helped you along the way, who's on that list?
Well, I'll go by saying when I ran for national office, you go through your rehearsal and your speech, and all the speech writers tell you if you start a speech by saying good morning, good afternoon, my name is John Lindert, you've lost the base right away. You've lost your audience. So, in researching what I should say and how I should say it, I started off by saying I'm that proverbial turtle on the fence post. You don't know how he got there, but you know he didn't get there alone. And that's factual. I think everybody that's in a Hall of Fame doesn't get there by themselves.
Yeah.
They all have this wonderful support group, and my wife is part of that. My kids are part of that. The members that are here that took the bus ride up from the Country Club of Lansing, and they're a part of that. My parents who brought me into the game, they were not golfers. There's nobody in my family that's a golfer. My parents picked up the game when they were in their 50s, and I was 5 years old, and they dragged me to the golf course because there was nothing better to do. And so I started hitting golf balls at that point in time. So all those people, the PGA professional Steve Bull, who taught me in Milwaukee, I owe a lot of that. Even the people that allowed me to believe that you could be involved in governance and still be a good player. Probably one of my other biggest cheerleaders is Dave Kendall. And I know Dave is smiling right now. He and I were officers together in Michigan. He was vice president when I was secretary, and he was president when I was vice president. I learned a lot from Dave. Still learn a lot from Dave.
If the role were offered to you again, not past president, but to be president again, would you want to do it again?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would your family support that?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Okay. That's kind of what I wondered.
No, I always like to be part of the solution, and I think being in the inner circle, you try to be part of the solution.
Yeah.
And there are so many different things that are going on in the game right now that need a guiding light, that need some help, that need a solution. And if offered that opportunity, I would want to be part of the solution.
We are glad that you have played the role that you have, and I know you're nowhere near being done. My last question for you is, how do you kind of give the assessment to the state of the game in this state, in your home state, as you kind of examine not just statistics and data, but consider the conversations you have with industry leaders? How are we doing here in the pure Michigan world of golf?
We're looked up to. This is a state that a lot of other states, a lot of other sections look to. There's so much positivity going on in the state of Michigan, especially with the game of golf. And just look at this university and look at the Hall of Fame and look what we've done here. But when you think about it, Michigan's a destination state. It's not a pass-through state. You have to want to come to Michigan, and everybody involved in governance and the game has done a tremendous job in making this pure Michigan and growing the game of golf. The 900 PGA members from the Michigan PGA that go to work every day, that try to teach somebody to hit a little white golf ball a little bit better that day, are doing a tremendous job, and I look for that to continue.
Yeah. Well, John, on behalf of the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame, we welcome you in and thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, John. Our final honoree is a posthumous award today, and long overdue. Dr. Roger Ostrander. The stories from Dr. O run deep through this room. There are a lot of you who could probably spend a few hours telling several stories. I had the chance to know him for a few years and just found his passion for the game to be remarkable. And just a thoughtful person. Today we're going to kind of talk about his legacy and his love for the game and his role in it by bringing Greg Johnson back up to the platform to kind of fill in the blanks on who this character known as Dr. O really was, because everybody has a story. John, now I want you to picture John in a Speedo for a long time. We have already eaten, so we're good there. I want everybody to just kind of think through the person sitting either in the row behind you or in front of you, and realize that every person in this room comes here with their own story, and you probably don't know much of it. That's just the case with all of society. And we often assume things that aren't true because we haven't taken the time to ask or learn. And today we're going to learn a little bit about Dr. Ostrander. So Greggy's going to play the role here of Dr. O. So fill in the blanks at the very beginning. Who is this man?
Okay, well, Dr. O is, I got to get past the emotional part here.
I didn't ask the hard question.
Great friend.
yet.
That one's hard because he was, he's a character. He was one of the great characters and I've been around Michigan golf for, too many years now to remember, 40-some. And he was just one of the people that stood out because he was a little loud. He was a little, I tell you what, I'm going to start with a story. This just tells you about him. We're at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, and Payne Stewart's beating Mickelson on the last hole, and he hugs Mickelson after making the putt, and they have a statue of it now at Pinehurst, and there's a picture that runs on Sports Illustrated's cover the following week and who's in the background, and it's fuzzy, you really can't tell who it is, but I know who it is. It's Dr. O, and he's kind of got his butt, and he's trying to help hold back the crowd. He's doing his USGA thing. He was there as a rules official, and I just said, really, without your butt, that would have been a really good picture, and he was like, I can't believe that was me. That's not me. There's no way that's me. And I'm going, it was you. I was standing by you 4 minutes earlier. That was you. And so I picked on him forever for having his butt in the statue, that his butt should be on the statue. But that was kind of Dr. O. He was there. He didn't mean to be in the picture, but he had to be where the action was. And he loved golf. He loved the history of golf. And he was from Grand Rapids. So I was a golf writer at the Grand Rapids Press. And so I would they'd send me to a major to cover it for Booth newspapers or wherever, and I would write Grand Rapids angle stories. So I'd write about Mark Wilson, who we all know, who was at the 7th hole of the Masters, it seemed like every year. So I'd write about him working the 7th hole and doing rulings. And here's Dr. O. We're at a U.S. Open in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's 104 degrees or whatever it is, and most of the other USGA guys had already given up on walking the entire thing because it was so hot, and they were telling him to come in and sit down for a while and then go back out, and not Dr. O. He thought he had to walk his group, all 18, and he's sweating, his clothes he looks horrible, and I see him at like the 11th hole, and he's got a wet towel over his head, and I go, where'd you get the wet towel, or is that just the one you were carrying? And he goes, no, I got these volunteers. They're bringing me towels. and I go, yeah, they thought you were going to die. They really did. They thought we were going to have a dead guy on our hands. And so Dr. O was getting towels. And of course, he had charmed him into bringing them to him every 2 holes. Now he had a system going so he could finish the round.
To hear that he had somebody charmed does not surprise me. And it's also important to point out that his career was not in the golf industry. He was an oral surgeon.
Yeah,
he saw the worst of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
He got
and I'm
some-
sure he was talking away. Yeah.
Yeah, most likely, because they were helpless to defend themselves
Yeah.
at the time. And at the same time, as is the case with so many of you in this room who volunteer your time to be a part of growing the game or officiating matches, and that, he was a volunteer through all. He didn't make his living in golf.
Oh no, he spent a lot of money, and he wouldn't let you pick up a check either. I would be embarrassed sometimes because, where we would be wherever at some tournament, and of course we'd always do at least one. We got to do at least one dinner this week, and we'd figure it out, and we'd go, and we'd end up doing breakfast sometimes too. But he would pick up every check, and that was just him, and of course he would kid me later that I never reached for my wallet, stuff like that. But it was his way of it was our friendship.
And he had a unique passion.
He did. His passion for golf, and then, well, he had a lot of passions, but the one he talked about all the time he talked about his kids. He talked about Mark, his hockey playing son, because he loved hockey. And he talked about Laura, and he said, I'm going to have Laura come and help on a scoreboard for the game. He talked about his kids all the time. And then he would talk about the greyhounds, and that's dogs, not the buses. Not like John has. John has a bus. Doc had the greyhounds he and his wife Bonnie would rescue these dogs after they had had their racing careers and stuff. So, they're dogs that are put out to pasture, and nobody wants them when they're not making them money anymore. So they would rescue them, and they would have, and Mark said they had like 4 at one time, he remembers, and they would call it the pack, and it was, and Doc would talk about them. I mean, he had names for them, and he would talk about them, and the only time I ever saw him, absolutely upset was when he had to put one of those down. They only lived like 9 years or whatever, and they were 6 years old when they got them. So it seemed like every 2 or 3 years they were putting one of these dogs down, and he was going through this torment of losing a family member. That's how he looked at it. And it'd be, okay, Doc, what was this one's name? So we'd go through the history of the dog, but that was a incredible passion. It also shows that's just the kind of guy he was. He didn't look at the total cost. He didn't look at anything like that. He looked at who he could meet next, who he could charm out of a beer on the 4th fairway at Mishaway. There's a lady doing her garden. We're playing a late round after the Michigan amateur matches, and all of a sudden this little old lady, it had to be 80 years old, comes carrying an ice chest full of beers out there for Dr. O. Oh, Doc, I got you some beers. You boys look thirsty. And, we were boys, but we were thirsty. But it was, but that's the kind of thing he did. He charmed people wherever he went. He was kind of a rascal. He was, there isn't a waitress who didn't get flirted with. There isn't from here to Tulsa. So that was just him.
There's a unique makeup for a golf rules official, because most often when they're exercising their talent, it's at a time when the participants would rather not see them. I mean, right? You need a ruling because you didn't hit it down the middle. So Dr. O has just a unique way about him to approach those situations without adding fuel to the fire, so to speak.
Yeah, he tried to. He had some rulings. I remember when he first started, he was really by the book, and because he was, it was like reciting Mark Wilson. He was,
the
'cause that was
Gospel
his
of Wilson.
mentor. Yes, the Gospel of Wilson. So, but then he kind of put his personality into it, and he realized, these guys aren't really happy to see me here, and he would have. There were just hilarious things. I know Mark told me a story just the other day about he invites his dad to play in the member guest at the Moores, where Mark worked as a superintendent for years, and they had an opening, so they said, "Hey, super, you can bring your dad and play golf." So they started playing, and they're not in the hunt, let's put it that way. So they're not in the championship flight, but they're having fun, and they're playing with this other twosome. And of course, the other two guys know, because you couldn't play without Roger without him telling you he was a rules official and he knew everything about the rules. And of course, he would make special rulings for you if you really wanted them. Anyway, and this was one of those cases. A guy hit his ball. It's in the trees. It's up against a big root. There's no way the guy can play this without having serious trouble. And he looks at Roger and he goes, "Well, what are my options?" And I've cleaned this up a little bit, by the way, because and Roger goes, "Well, you can either take the chance of hitting it, ricocheting it off the root and hitting yourself in the genitals, and then get a 2-stroke penalty for hitting yourself. Or you can move it 6 inches and act like we didn't see you. So the guy moved it 6 inches and they played on. But that he did rulings like that a little often. I told one in a story I wrote once, and it was the PGA championship, and this is a golf pro who should have known the rules, but he still wanted a ruling. He was still hoping to get a favorable ruling that wasn't going to be there. And Doc's just looking at him and waiting for him to finish his spiel, and the guy goes, "Well, can't I do anything else, Raj?" And Dr. O goes, "I'm thinking you get lessons, and just don't hit it here." And so
Always helpful.
Yeah, he had those kind of remarks for you, and he would. But that was he tried to make rules fun, which is impossible, but he tried to.
Yeah. So when the committee accepts nominations for the Hall of Fame, every once in a while there's somebody who has passed who is brought up for nomination, and you think to yourself, this probably should have happened a long time ago,
Yeah.
right? And so today we do have some family members here with
Yes,
us
we do.
representing Dr. O.
Yeah, we have his son Mark and his family, and we have his daughter Laura. They have another brother that lives in Portland. He's not here today. His wife Bonnie was unable to come today, but there's like 11 or 10 of them here. Everybody stand up, the Ostranders here.
And we're going to guess that you all could have story time for several hours if called upon. But I do know, Greggy, that when we present the plaque today, it's got a special meaning to it.
Yeah, I'm not going to take the plaque because we're going to have a family member do it, and it's his grandson Matthew. He is and there's one thing Doc used to love doing. He would come up with Mark. Mark, worked here at the university after his career at Watermark in Grand Rapids, and of course they would run the playability tests for the golfers here. You have to pass a playability test, shoot a certain number, so you can become a PGA professional and get through the program. And it's a mark, and it's a lot of pressure. You got to do it on call. They put you on the back tips and say, go at it. And Doc would run those playability tests, and obviously he was a cheerleader. He hated when the kids would miss by a shot. He'd be crushed. He'd be talking to them about come back and try again next year. You're so close. He was a big cheerleader. Anyway, he would love this, that he has a grandson who is now in the PGM program, and about a month ago passed his playability test. Anyway, we're going to have Matthew come up and accept the plaque for his grandfather.
Come on up here, buddy. Here we go. Thank you. Play well. He already did, I guess. Well, I hope, yeah. He made it by shot, right? So literally every shot counts. Well, I hope as we conclude that maybe you'll agree with or maybe even embrace the sentiment that I started this program with, which is one of gratitude. We've had some awesome stories, family legacy, and an investment in the game that goes kind of beyond the normal levels. For Dr. O to volunteer all that time, for Loretta to do what she does, for John to serve the game in a role where sleep was not an option for a long time because the phone would ring on the other side of the world and they didn't care that it was 11 p.m. and he's trying to sleep, to your world as well, and the family legacy. And you're going to watch that whole video later that you shot? I think that's going to be fascinating. Appreciation, right? So as you go today, be safe as you do it and be thankful as you do it. We are privileged to be part of this silly game and to be able to celebrate it with great friends. And we're so glad that you're all here as part of the Hall of Fame ceremonies. Thank you for being here.
Everybody thank Bill Hobson. Thank you, Bill. We're not sure what we're going to do when Bill gets nominated one day and we have to, maybe I'll interview him. How about that? I want to thank Loretta Larkin. I know we had her on stage earlier, but honestly, she's an event planner. She does everything. I'm a committee guy who just comes up with ideas, and Loretta goes, I don't know if we have the money to do that, or I don't know if we can do that, or most of the time I never get a negative answer. It's, okay, I'll get it done, and she does. So it's really, thank you, Loretta. Finally, welcome to the Hall of Fame, Michael, John, and Dr. O. That's a wonderful class. And the families, we're going to do a little family kind of group pictures. John, I'm still not sure what to do about your whole bus group, but kind of all stay over there by the Hall of Fame sign, and we'll try to get a picture of everybody together. We'll get the Ostranders up here and the Harrises over there, and we're going to shoot a few pictures. Otherwise, thank you. Travel safely and play more golf. Thanks.